you have been in some phenomenal positions at Disney. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey?
Yes, well, the journey was very, I'd say, random and kind of punctuated with a lot of hard work and a lot of luck. Like I think most of life is, if we really take a step back and recognize that. I grew up in the hotel business. My dad was in the hotel business, and I was always exposed to hospitality. And in college, I ended up always working in hospitality roles. I worked at Walt Disney World in college. I waited tables at the beach in Ocean City, Maryland, and I really loved serving people. So when I graduated from BU, Boston University, I decided, well, I'm going to go back to Disney. I enjoyed working there in college. I loved the high energy. I love the structure. There's a lot of structure in Walt Disney World when you have so many guests coming through. And I took whatever job they'd give me, which was parking cars at Epcot. They said with a political science degree, that's really the only thing you're qualified to do. Well, they didn't say that, but that's what I heard. So I started parking cars and did that for about 6 months, and then got an incredible opportunity to go to France to, as I tell people, park cars in France, and opened Disneyland Paris back in 1992. And that kicked off, was going to be just a couple of years as I figured out what I wanted to do. That kicked off a 26-year career, 19 jobs, 5 years in France, 21 years in Florida, and just getting incredible experiences working with very passionate, talented people, and learning a heck of a lot along the way.
Wow, that's quite the story. Now, what leadership competencies do you think were essential to your success at Disney? Now, I think it's probably easy for you to look back now because you're using those competencies every day, but you certainly didn't know what they were at the time you were moving forward. So tell us about some of those competencies.
Gosh, that's such a great point, because actually when I left Disney and Valerie and I started our own company, it took me a while to figure out what I knew, because when you're in the same environment like that for so long, what you do is sort of second nature and you really don't see it as being really valuable. And so I had to figure that out. I think, leadership competencies, boy, that's a broad topic. But I think specifically for Walt Disney World, every environment has certain leadership competencies, I think, that are more productive and more efficient than others. Working in that environment, a few things I learned, and I carry that forward today. One, and this is probably a good one for life, is humility. When you're dealing with so much volume and the expectations are so high, you have to rely on others. And if you don't have humility, and if you can't let your ego go, it's really hard to do that, because you really want to show that you can do it all, and it's impossible. And I tried that a few times to go out on my own working at Disney on projects, and they failed miserably, because you have to bring people along with you. And I especially find that now that I'm an entrepreneur, that we get strength through numbers and strength through influence and relationships. And so no matter how smart you are, have to know that your journey is going to be even better when you partner and bring along people with you that can help fill those voids and those gaps. I think the other big one is just having discipline. Having discipline to get things done every day, and having a plan. And as professionals, we talk about professionals come in and get the job done every day, whether they want to be there or not. We see that in sports. We see that in companies. Professionals get it done. And that's what, when you have a park opening 365 days a year, you can't just say, well, I don't feel like doing this today, because you have a lot of people who paid a lot of money to be there, and it's a lot of responsibility. So I think there's probably two of the ones that I found that helped me through my success, is just keeping my mindset right and knowing that I was probably a lot less talented and a lot less successful than I thought, and recognizing the people around me had helped me get there, and just getting up every day and getting the job done. And that's, I think that's, there is no get rich quick. There is no lose weight without working out. You have to have discipline to get anything done worth doing, I think.
Yeah, those are key points. And I'm just going to summarize that for our listeners. Now, a leader has to have people around them. And there's an old saying that if you have an idea and I have an idea, we have two ideas. But if we put those two ideas together, we have a multiplicity of those ideas. And that is the key with getting forward. And if you surround yourself by real good people, that is even better. You know, I tell everybody it's so easy for me to be successful because I step on the shoulders of giants. And, you know, even on this show, I have people like Dan on it that are giants in their industry. So it's no wonder my show has 3 million listeners every month, because people want to hear from these wonderful people. Now, the second thing you said is about discipline. Now, discipline is very important. I think discipline equals success. If you do things in a disciplined way over and over and over again, you will get success. You will get it undoubtedly. And if you take 1 or 2 or 3 baby steps toward your goal every day, without a doubt, you're going to be successful.
Well said. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Oh, thank you so much. You're so kind. So how do you balance being accessible and approachable with maintaining a sense of authority with all the things you have to do, with all your stuff that you're doing all the time?
Yeah, it's I love you asked that. That actually was what I think if you do this right, I think you can reverse engineer your reputation, and you can start figuring out, okay, what do I want to be known for? And then think about, okay, what do I need to do to be known for those things? Because people are judged by their actions, by their behaviors, where they spend their time, how they carry themselves. And I learned, once again, working in a big company like Disney, is being accessible and approachable gave me so much opportunity to connect, to learn more what was going on beneath the surface. You know, when you get to higher levels in companies, people don't tell you the truth. They don't lie to you, but they leave out a lot of really important information because you're being managed every day. And, you know, what should I tell the boss? What shouldn't I tell them? And so you really got to find the truth. And this accessibility, approachability, I found that I was able to find the truth out from a lot of my employees, because I would spend time, I'd eat in the cafeteria every day. I had an open door policy. I had a confidential voicemail number anyone could call and leave a voicemail on. And I was really able to start having that relationship with everyone who wanted to reach out to me. And I saw that was the fact I did that way overrode the idea that, well, if you're too accessible, people are going to take you for granted. They're not going to respect you as much. And I just don't think that's true. I knew what my title was. People know what I did and how I did it. But at the end of the day, leadership is not about you, really, right? It's about the mission. It's about, and at Disney, it was about taking care of the employees so they can take care of our guests and our customers. That was the business model. And so being accessible and approachable not only helped me learn more about where I needed to spend my time and focus, but it showed that I respected everyone's job. You know, every single person counts. And it's like my wife talks about, companies are like big puzzles. And if you've ever done a puzzle and you have one piece missing, you know how frustrating that is and how noticeable it is. And in a place like Disney or any great company, if a piece of the puzzle is missing, it just doesn't work. And so you got to make sure everyone has the same amount of respect, the same voice. And it's not easy to do. It's a great concept. It's very hard to do, but that was my role, to make sure that I role modeled, to make sure everyone knew how important they are. Because when they know how important you are, you're much more likely to be committed to what you do.
Yeah, there's a story of Walt Disney, and he was just starting the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. Now, I don't think it was called that ride at that time because that show hadn't taken off. But that particular ride, Disney was ready to open it after spending millions on it. And he stopped and he said, there's something wrong. Now, if you remember that ride, you're going in and you're going into this smoky, hazy environment. And he stopped and said, no, there's something not right there. So he asked one of the waiters what was wrong. And the waiter was from the South. He went and he said, sir, you're missing crickets. You're not hearing crickets as you're entering the ride. So that's what he put in. And you hear the crickets there now. Now, that was because he listened to this waiter. Now, that is a phenomenal leader, listening to somebody that really made the difference in that ride.
Absolutely. Great story. And Valor and I, in the workshops we do, one of the insights we give is everything that you need to do in your business to change or continue doing, your customers and your employees know what it is. You just have to figure out how to ask the right questions, and they'll tell you everything they want. Just start listening.
That's a huge insight. Did you hear that, everybody? Your people in the business know the answers. You just have to listen to it. I think that's really, really important there. And that's a leg up on the competition, because that is how you get ahead of the competition, by listening and moving forward.
Yep. It's like I said, when you get, before I left Disney, my wife and I talked about it. And one of the big things she told me was, are you sure your ego can take this? Cause you're going to go back to running the company. It's you and I and the dog. And so, and I agree. I said, well, look, I've had my 15 minutes of fame here, and I'm ready to go out and travel and, do what we want to do with our life. But a lot of times people really identify themselves with their jobs, I think, too much, and they don't realize that, and they get managed, and you start to believe your own, your own Kool-Aid you drink. You start to drink more and more, and the reality is that you're just you're a cog in the wheel, and you're part of a team, and that you really have to kind of spread out what makes you successful in life, whether it's personally, with your family and friends, or with your career. And so just know that you got to listen, and you have to make it easy for people to provide feedback, because there is no upside in telling the boss that something's wrong. It just isn't, there's usually not a lot of times, as they say, the messenger gets killed when they bring that message. So you got to figure out ways to make it easy, sometimes make it anonymous, and reward bad news. Because if you get that bad news, it's going to help you fix what's going on. And most of us, there's a bunch of bad news we don't know about, because we're just not, we're not looking for it.
So how do you know, as a leader, when it's the right time to make changes?
Yeah. So this is another one. I think that a lot of missteps are made. And once again, ironically, a lot of times it goes back to ego. New leaders come into operations, new CEOs come into companies, and on their mind is, how do I put my fingerprint and leave my legacy on this organization? And they do it by looking for change. They look at putting something in place, building something, or putting a process in place that's theirs, so they will be credited with that. And what I learned in the 19 new jobs I joined, and I got a little bit better every time. One was, first of all, you better learn your business. And so at Disney, it is not uncommon for new managers or new executives to go in and actually work for 6 to 8 weeks in their own operation. And when I worked in the hotels, learn how to make beds, learn how to work in the food court and make burgers, learn how the recreation works and how they balance the pools, and learn all the jobs. Because once you start learning that, you start seeing what needs to be improved upon. You don't say anything, you take lots of notes. And the day that your team starts to ask you your opinion is the day they're ready to listen to what you have to say. And a lot of leaders think they need to come in and prove themselves right away and show how smart they are, how much experience they have. And I used to tell every new leader that worked for me, I know you're good at this job because I picked you. I know you don't have to prove yourself. You've already proved yourself because you got the promotion. You're here. What I need you to do now is go listen to what's going on and figure out what needs to be fixed, what needs to be changed. And it has to be based on facts and observations. And so go talk to the guests, go talk to the employees, go learn about the operation. And you're going to see pretty quickly, they're going to tell you what the things that need to be shifted, and you're going to focus on those things for continuous improvement. It's not about what you think, it's about what you can gather and what the team needs. And if you can, once again, let go of that ego and know it's not about you, I think you make much better decisions for the organization.
Now, that's huge. Now, here's a question that's for you. What changes did you make as you grew from leading a team at Disney to leading your own organization?
Wow, a lot. Um, to be fair and truthful, Disney does not teach you how to be an entrepreneur. That's not its job, and that's not the goal. And it's a huge organization, and everyone works interdependently. And so there's a lot of things I was exposed to, but didn't dive into. I grew up in the operations at Disney. I know how to run stuff. And by doing that, I learned a lot of great skills: communication, problem solving, process, learning the power of discipline. I think one of the things I ended up, after coming into our own business, there's a bunch of doors that opened and things I had to figure out, pricing, how to negotiate, how to make sure we're giving the right value, creating content, all those kind of pieces. When the world becomes your market, it's a little harder because you can do anything, you can go anywhere, and you have to start building some structure around that. However, the things that made me successful at Disney are the exact same things I do today. I stay connected with lots of people. I'm very curious. And if anyone calls, I answer the phone. And I don't judge it on what your title is or who you are, because I know that everyone I interact with and connect with is an opportunity for something to happen in the future. And a lot of people weigh their want to take time based on what the reward is. And I don't think that's how you should live life. You should live it with a sense of curiosity. And the more people you meet, the more experiences you have, the more opportunities you create for yourself. And I saw that happen at Disney, which is why I had 19 different jobs throughout my career. And I think that's why today that we're able to, Valor and I really start able to travel the world and do work, because we're not shy and we're willing to assimilate to cultures and reach out and make sure that we're out connecting. And that's a big deal. I just did a podcast today with the gentleman, Dre Baldwin, incredible guy. He played basketball for 9 years internationally. And I asked him about that. How do you create your own luck? And he said, you got to get out. You have to be outside. And if you're outside and figuratively interacting with people, things will happen. The opportunities will arise just because you're making yourself available. And so if you think out there, you don't have the opportunities you need to get out and start interacting with more and be more curious and start connecting with people, because it's usually the third or fourth contact down the road that something's going to happen and give you kind of a lucky break.
Yeah. I love the quote of Henry Ford, who said, I know the future because I create it. And I think that's an amazing talent. You do the hard work, you do all the stuff, and stuff falls together. And the more you do that, the better it's going to be. And I remember the quotes of him where he sat with his engineers day in and day out, and they told him that his idea of the car was impossible and it wasn't going to work. And then finally at about month 10, they said, oh, that's how it all fits together. There it was.
It can't be done until it can.
Exactly. And how did that happen? Well, first, dogged persistence. Secondly, not taking no for an answer. And lastly, knowing it can happen because he could see it in his mind.
Yep. That's right. Grit
and tenacity. I think those are some of the skills that we underestimate. Now, I'm going to ask you a personal question, Dan. And this show is called How to Live a Fantastic Life Show. How do you and your wife live fantastic lives?
We have been on a lifelong, I think, quest to figure this question out. And the things in our life that have been our goals to live a fantastic life have changed over time. When we first met and decided to get married, and for the first few years, we wanted to make sure we figure out how to be married, and figure out how to, kind of do this ride and do it the right way. And then we had our son, back in 1995, and then our daughter in 98, and our youngest son in 2001. And the next period of time was, how do we live a fantastic life and take advantage of this time in our life right now to raise our kids and create these memories with them and get them through, guide them through all the obstacles and dangers of childhood and the teenage years. And then that point, when they all went off to be, fairly independent, 2 are working now and 1's in college, they really aren't concerned where we are. They'll call us every once in a while if they need something, but our fantastic life right now is taking this moment in our life to take this freedom we have and travel and meet people all over the world. And that was a big decision leaving Disney. Do we want more stuff or do we want more experiences? And we said, you know what, we want experiences. And so we made that change. We sold our house. We rented an apartment in Colorado. We left there in May. I may not get back there till January of 2023. So we are on a mission right now. The success in our life right now is just meeting people all over the world and helping enhance their lives, working with them, talking with them, having these moments. And the next chapter will be settling down and not doing this level of travel. But once again, I think only you can define what success is. I think that's the big thing I've realized is you got to run your own race. Don't let anyone else pressure you on what you should do in your life and what you should be. Taking advice is great. Listening is great. But we have a big problem today with social media and everyone, keeping up with the Joneses just used to mean the people next door. Now you're trying to keep up with people you don't even know. And I think it's not good for the human race to have to be in that position where you're comparing yourself with everyone else. So, it changes over time. And the main thing I would tell everyone is define what it is for yourself and don't let anyone tell you whether you got there or not. Only you can judge whether that happens.
Dan, I've got to thank you so much for being on the show. And we're almost at our end now. So can you tell people how people can get a copy of your book? And please name the title of it. And also tell them how they can find out more about you and your organization.
Yeah, perfect. So my book is How is the Culture in Your Kingdom? And it is about my career at Disney and what I learned along the way and the leadership and management things I learned and the experiences I had, the successes and the failures. How's the Culture in Your Kingdom? You can find it on Amazon, anywhere you buy books, it's on there. And I'll give you a little preview. My wife has been editing her book and she's shooting for Mother's Day of 2023. She just finished writing Manage Like a Mother. And I think this one is going to be really successful. She's been testing the concept out with women she's met with, and they are really excited. And it really resonates with them about how mothers are great leaders. And if you take what mothers do to raise their kids and apply that in the workplace, they're great. So that'll be coming. And you can find us at cockerellconsulting.com or dancockerell.com. Either one of those sites will get you there. dancockerell.com was the first one. And then she got involved and built one that was 10 times better called cockerellconsulting.com. So I'd go to that one first.
Can I get you to spell Cockerell, please? Because not everybody's going to spell that correctly, Dad.
Absolutely. COCKERELL consulting.com.
Dan, I can't tell you how much fun I had today having you on my show. And I know our paths are going to cross again because you're such a dynamic individual. And I thank you so much for spending this time with our audience.
Well, appreciate you giving me access and sharing, and hopefully someone out there got a tip or two today. Maybe they can put into place starting tomorrow. So thanks, Dr. Lycka, for having me. And I look forward to meeting you in person someday.
I look forward to that as well. Thank you so much, my friend. That's a wrap.
Fantastic. Thank you. Great questions.
Well, I've done this a couple of times now, so I'm getting better and better at it.
Yeah.
As you try to get to excellence, you keep on getting better at what you do. So I think that worked out pretty well.
That was great. Good.
Okay.
So, we'll keep in touch. And if you just let me know when that goes out, I'll plaster it over my social media. So,
Coach, let me tell you the next steps. This will get edited. Now. It'll take a couple of weeks, and then it'll get on that network AM, FM 24/7. So Tammy will tell you when that's going to play, and quote unquote, you'll appear live. You won't be live, but you'll sound like you're live. Okay. And then it'll get on that site for the next 6 months or so. So, okay.
Good.
And
Thank you very much. I'll keep in touch.
We should get your wife on towards the time that her book is coming out. So if you want to give me a date at that time, I would love to give her a plug as well.
That would be great. I will make a note and we'll be in touch probably January, February of next year. And that would be great exposure.
that would be the perfect time, and my network keeps growing. My PR guy says we're up to 4 million a month now. So
Wow.
it keeps on. It's amazing when you plant that tree, how it keeps growing. And if
That's
you
great.
give good content, people want more and more of it.
Well, thanks for letting me climb it a little bit. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. And again, good luck with all your ventures and good luck
Thank
with
you.
what you do. Stay positive, because I think the world is lacking that positivity right now. And
I agree.
I think they need some more of that kindness out there that's
I
lacking.
agree. We'll
Yeah.
keep it coming. All
For
right.
sure.
Have a great day.
Stay well.
You too. Bye-bye.